Alright, here we are on lesson 4, creating a histogram. So a histogram is a graph of a frequency distribution in which rectangles with bases on the horizontal axis are given, widths equal to the class intervals and heights equal to the corresponding frequencies. Okay, that definition is a little long. The important thing is that histograms relate to frequency. And a frequency, if you want to write yourself a note, if you're not sure what that word means, frequency is how often something happens. Alright, and you hear that word, outside of math class too, but frequency is how often something happens. So the opening exercise says the boys and girls basketball teams in Roosevelt Middle School want to raise money to help buy new uniforms. They decided to sell hats with the school logo on the front, and to obtain the correct hat size, the students had to measure the head circumference, so the distance around the head, of the adults who wanted to order a hat. The following data represents head circumferences in millimeters. So, they give us this list of numbers, and they're so nicely in order, which is really good. And they say that the hats come in 6 sizes, and those are the sizes, and each hat covers a span of head circumferences. The table below shows the interval of head circumferences for each hat size. So if you look at this interval, 510 to less than, remember that symbol, 530 means the head circumferences from 510 to 530, so not including 530, so basically to, if you want to cross that out, 529. Okay, so what we're going to do first is we're going to make tallies to fill in our table here. So, I'm going to look off my paper off to the side. So we're going to start with 513. 513 will go in extra small. Then we have 525, so that stays in the same box. But then we jump to 531. So that goes in small. 533, 535, another 535, and then at 542 you put the line going across to represent 5. And we've got 543, 546, 549. Now 551 we jump down to mediums. 551, 552, 552, 553, 554 is my 5th, 555, 560, 561, 563, another 563 is my 5th, another 563, 565, 565, 568, another 568, and then we jump to 571. So that's going to go in the large now, the large section. So 571, 571, 574, 577, 580 is my 5th, 583, 583, 584, 585, and then we jump down to 591, so down into the extra large section. 591, 595, 598, 603, 612, we jump into double XL, and then 618. So our frequency is how many tallies. So here we have 2. In small we have 8. In medium we have 15. In large we have 9. In extra large we have 4. And in extra large we have 2. So if you added up all these frequencies, you should get the amount of numbers that you have. Alright, so go ahead and flip the page, and you're going to have to kind of flip back and forth. It says if someone has a head circumference of 570, what hat size would they need? If you look back at the table, they would need a large. And then what hat size does the data center around? So think about which one had the most, and that would be the size medium. Alright, so now it says the following histogram shows the first 2 intervals from the frequency table. Now complete the table with the rest of the data. So they did the first 2, so now we're going to look at our 550 to 570 range. And if you look at that, that needed 15. So I'm going to draw a box up to 15. Do a little bolder here. 15, which is halfway in between 14 and 15. And go down and then shade that in. And we do want to shade these in. 570 to 590 was at 9. So we're going to go up to 9, and you do want them touching as well. 590 to 610, we were at an even 4. Shade those in, and then 610 to 630, we were at an even 2. Okay, so notice how all the rectangles are touching. There's no spaces in between, and they are filled in. So now we're going to answer some questions. It says, based on the histogram, describe the center of the head circumferences. So we would say the center is between 550 and 570, right? That's where the center is. And how would the histogram change if you added head circumferences of 551 and 569? Well, we would know that the bar for 550 to 570 would go up to 17 now, because we added 2 more. Okay? Alright, so go ahead and flip the table, or flip the page. So now they're talking about shapes of the histogram. So we want to look at the shape to talk about the data distribution. So there's 2 different ways to describe it. The first is symmetric, and you can see that it's very even, and the second is skewed, and you can either be skewed to the right, which is the first one, so to the right, or the second one is to the left. Okay? So they're asking you here to look at the histogram, and if you kind of draw it in here, draw in our little hump over the bars, you would see that the data distribution is symmetric. It's very even. Okay? Now if you flip the page and you look at the next one, a different frequency table, a different histogram, and you draw in that little hump, this one you can see is definitely not even. We have more on the left-hand side, so we would say that this one is skewed. Okay, so all you have to do is really look at it. And they ask you, why do you think that the histogram has a skewed shape? And, well, if you look at the question, they're asking about roller coasters, and we would say that most roller coasters are similar in their drop lengths. So you have to think about it in real life. Okay? Alright, so what I want you to do on the last page of this section here, they gave you the frequency table. I want you to make the histogram on your own, so go ahead and fill that in so we can talk about it in class tomorrow, and then answer these 2 questions down at the bottom as well. Alright, so you're pretty much gonna, on your own, you're pretty much gonna finish this page on your own, look back at your notes if you need to, and then we will go over it in class together.